Greetings, folks, and welcome once again to KS Customs. I am Richard of KS Collectibles. We're going to continue working forward on our Owen Hart Nation of Domination custom action figure. After last week's episode, when I finished up the coats and the sealing of the black tights of Owen, I noticed that with the legs that I was using, which were Jack Swaggers, he sat pretty tall. So he sat pretty close. I have a custom Triple H here. Actually, he was in this spitting pose right there. Anyway, Triple H is about 6'4", you figure. And I stood the Owen next to him, and he stood a little too tall. So what I am doing is I'm using the legs off of a Chad Gable, who is closer to Owen's height, and we are going to use those instead of the Jack Swagger legs that we had originally planned, and that height should fit better. Let's see here, next to a taller wrestler. So Owen should be around 5'10", whereas, like I said, Triple H is around 6'4". Now the legs are a little odd because of the. There we go. Well, it sits way better. You can see the shoulders way lower. So it's about the proper height. That was just for an example. My Triple H back in his spitting pose. So moving forward, this is basically how it came out, all blacked out. Paint has been sealed. I turned around and did paint the Chad Gable, which wasn't that difficult because it was already half black as far as the tights go, and I just had to paint over some blue and then reseal it. Once again, paint it, seal it, paint it 3 times. Hopefully that will prevent any scratching from happening. But moving forward, the problem we have with the Gable legs is Chad Gable has these short, what they refer to as shooter boots or short wrestler boots, whereas Owen wears the mid-size boots, much like Triple H's. And I could do something similar how they have it here, where it's painted. I could paint this black and leave that painted, and it will look like the boots extend up. We do have these mid-size black boots that I am currently hiding from myself. Oh, here they are. These are the boots. That is the proper height that we're going to go with. So I have this set of legs, this torso, from one of, I don't know, maybe Hector Angel Garza or one of those guys. So he has a shorter calf, so we can have the longer boots, and he'd still have the proper height. So I'm going to walk you through the process that I go through to swap these pieces out. I'm not going to show it actually being done because it involves a hairdryer and it doesn't film well. It's loud. But what we do is we take a normal hairdryer and we heat up the plastic on the calf, and you're going to heat up both sides. Be careful with your temperature. I usually leave it on warm so it doesn't get you want it pliable, but you don't want it melting. And eventually it will get warm enough where you're able to push this pin. There's a pin right here that's holding the calf to the knee, and you could push the pin all the way through, pop this out, do the same with the Gable leg, and then swap them. Now, I understand that there are 2 different flesh tones, but we are painting the flesh on the Gable, so it all matches, so the body matches, because we are completely painting a head. So that won't matter. We'll end up painting the flesh on this calf to match the rest of the body. So once again, like I said, you're going to heat the plastic right here on both sides of the calf. Push this pin through. Attach it to a little 8 that's right here in the middle. That's a knee, and push it right in, and it will fit perfectly. So we will swap that piece out, and then paint it, and then probably start with the head for the Owen next. But another thing that I have is maybe part of this episode, depending on how long I go, or the next episode. I know I said we were going to go and go run through this Owen from start to finish, which we are, but we're going to take a little bit of a break because I have a custom order from a customer, and I'm going to show you how the process that I go through to do a full custom order. This is for myself, so there's a lot of steps that I didn't take simply because I know that it's meant to be displayed and not played with or anything. So this is actually the beginnings of the body that I am working on. The arms are around here somewhere. But what I did is I took the lower legs of a Seth Rollins, the torso of a Hurricane, because I wanted it to have this. You can see there's wrinkles in this where it looks like a shirt, whereas the Seth Rollins had a black shirt on the figure, but there was no. It just basically was. It looked like there was no fabric marks on it like they do with the tights and with some shirts. So it looked like it was just black painted flesh. Like I could paint over that Seth Rollins torso and it would look just like a shirtless body. So I wanted something that looks a little bit more like a shirt, because this is going to be I said this was for a customer, and she wanted a custom of her husband who was in the military. That's why we're using the shield pants from Seth Rollins. So what we're going to do is completely disassemble this. We're going to take the feet off of the ankles, take the boots off the calves, take the knees apart, take the upper thighs apart, all the way. Everything is going to be removed. It's going to be soaked for 24 hours in alcohol. It will be lightly sanded. It will be primered, and then paint, same thing as normal. When I do this, since this will be in military colors, what I do when I do the initial 3 coats, the paint, seal, that like I did on the black here, since this is going to be a camo, I do that with the base color. So the base brown that it will be, or the base tan, I'll do that. And then as I apply the camos, I'll probably only seal it twice. I'll do the camo, seal it, and go over it another time, just because doing the pattern of the camo it's pretty intricate, and doing it 3 times is kind of a pain in the butt. But I want to make it so that the paint won't come off on the joints, and it's movable. I'm also waiting for a particular head to come in so I can do some sculpting and shaping with that. And then we'll get the arms on there and do the flesh and everything. So I will go through the disassemble of this figure. Obviously, this torso has been taken apart, and if you've watched, as I said on the last episode, there is a YouTuber out there named Dustin Young, who showed me a very convenient way to torso crack, and that's how I got this Hurricane torso together and managed to put it on the Seth Rollins Actually, I cracked the Rollins torso also. So moving forward, we will also be working on this simultaneously as working with on the Owen. So moving on to back to the Owen quickly, I'm going to swap out the calves. And I'll probably just do one so you can see the difference. And like I said, I have my hair dryer here. I'm going to put it on warm. I will heat it up, push the pin through. And then I will show you the result before I assemble it and put it onto the next body. So sit tight and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to go through. So as you can see here, I removed the lower leg on both of these. I left the pin in this one so you can see what it looks like. Now, all it is you're going to push that in there, and you can see where that hole is. We're going to stick the pin all the way through again. That's another process. I usually let it cool down a bit before I put the pin back in. I don't want to leave tool marks or leave this overly bowed or anything like that. But basically the result is when you put this boot on, it'll be the same height. Actually, it might be a little bit taller. But it's still right around the height that we want for our Owen. As you can see, there's the two different colors, but we will paint the flesh tone. So now I have to do is, when you do this, to put the pin through, not only do you want to heat the calf up, but you heat this up a bit so you can push it all the way through a little bit easier. I use just a plastic spudger to push it through. And it should fit nicely. Would help if that's backwards. Also make sure that it is facing the correct way when you put it on. So in the end, this is the height that we're going for. We'll get them both on there. And then we will start working on our Owen head, which all we're going to do is we're going to paint this a flesh color. We're going to seal it. And it's going to be our base coat. It's been sanded. It's been soaked in alcohol because this is a 3D printed pre-resin days print, as I've mentioned before. It's been sanded down. So we will throw... Actually, I might throw a primer. I think I have a primer somewhere around here. Throw a primer coat on it. If not, I'll just use the flesh paint pretty thinned as a primer coat. And just so it's easier to see the details as we paint moving forward. And once we get the base coat painted on this, we'll do very similar thing. With the base coat on the flesh, we're going to do the base coat, seal it once, let it dry, do a second base coat, and then seal it. And that's all we're doing for that. Because we're going to use the washes to add actual flesh details, so it's not just this straight flesh tone that a lot of action figures come in. We're going to do some wash techniques and a little blotting with a makeup sponge so that the washes get into the details and it looks a little bit more like human flesh and a lot less like a molded plastic. And that's where the details come in. And we're going to do a little bit of that on the body. Not as much, just because the detail, like, we'll do it around the muscle areas and the definition areas. So it looks good, but you don't want to go too deep because there's too much paint on a figure. Then you're risking chipping, cracking, it rubbing off no matter how many times you seal it. No matter how many times you seal anything, unless you go over it with a clear resin, it's going to eventually rub off or chip a bit. So I like to keep as little actual painting as possible as far as on the movable areas. So moving forward, like I said, I will finish swapping the calves. I'm going to use the pins off of the Chad Gable simply because these are darker and they match this flesh tone. This is closer to the flesh tone we're going, and painting just this little nub here in the knee, like it's so hard, and when you're sealing it, that seal will get into the holes, and there's a possibility of it sticking and you not being able to get the bending motion in the knee. So it's easier for me just to use that, or to paint it before I put it in and seal it many times over and hope the paint sticks on that. So, which doesn't really matter, honestly, because it's going to be covered by knee pads. So that's really just kind of for my own brain, my own ADHD, I suppose, or OCD, actually, is the proper word I was looking for, or term. So, like I said, I will heat that up, pull this out. Same thing on this that I did. And we're going to swap both of these, and have it ready for the next time that we're working on that one. Like I said, we're going to move forward to this custom next week, and show you how I do custom orders for customers. This one is not an overly complicated, not an extremely expensive custom, though some people consider it expensive. I mean, I guess it goes with, depending on your realm of what is expensive and what's not. Typically, if something is just a simple repaint or a simple part swap where there's not a tremendous amount of work done, my customs will range from $40 to $60. If I am just, say I get a CM Punk and you wanted some updated gear, and all I'm doing is painting and sealing the tights and applying decals or painting in the details, depending on how intricate the details are. And that can range between $40 and $60. It's something simple, not a big, not a whole lot of work on my part. Whereas you look at something like this, which is a complete build, I have to completely tear it down, repaint everything. This is going to be not just hours. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks worth of work to do this, obviously, because I can't sit here and work on it 24 hours a day. That's why it's going to be take some time. Even though I have 90% of the pieces right now. All I need is the head that I'm going to work with to finish up the parts. And the but this is something that starts around $100 to $120 because it is, number one, it's, you got to think cost. The legs come from a Seth Rollins Shield action figure, which cost me, which what I mean by cost me is I had it in my store for sale as a loose figure, so it was selling for $10. So that cost me $10. The Hurricane, same thing. This was a brand new boxed figure that I took apart for this, and I think I'm using the head for another project. So, but still, that's a figure that costs about $20. You figure 10 plus 20, that's $30 right there just in those parts. We'll say the arms came from the Hurricane too, so we're still right in that $20 range. The head is coming from another action figure that costs $15. So you figure 10, 20, and 15, you know, it starts adding up, and that's just the basic parts, you know. So you're looking at $45 in parts without anything. Then you figure the probably good solid hours that I will have to put in there is, I would say, 12 to maybe 12 to 14 hours actually working on this, because having to take everything apart, having to sand everything, having to paint it, seal it, applying, painting the details, because the camo is going to be completely hand painted. I'm going to take the head. I have to do a high and tight haircut on it, which means some sanding and reshaping of the head. I have to sculpt a mustache on the figure, as well as painting the flesh so it all matches. And that's a whole process. So like I said, this was a friend that is getting this for her husband, which hopefully I don't think he'll be seeing this. I don't think he knows who I am. So I don't think he knows about the store. He may, actually. I believe he is a Marvel and Star Wars fan and stuff like that. Obviously, he's some kind of a fan of action figures if she wanted a custom figure for him. So hopefully he doesn't see this podcast. I'm not putting any names forward, but I've already revealed a little bit too many details about this for him not to know who it is. But that's why moving forward, like I said, this is something that will cost between $100 and $120. And they go up. The figure that I had did this, which is a complete custom paint. This is something that I would charge probably $124, and there was no swapping parts except for the gun on this one, other than it's just a complete paint. If you recall, the other Warhammer figure that I did on this, this is the exact same one. I swapped the head out on the other one, as well as the arms, and did a bunch of work on that other one. So this is just a repaint of the original figure. So this actually I probably would sell for maybe $80 to $100. The one that I did the complete swap, as far as swapping out the arms and the head, and did the whole paint job, as well as a box. Let's see if I can grab this over here. And that would be this one right here, which exact same figure. This one I would probably charge between $120 and $140 for, simply for the hours, the parts, the And the time, which we went through on the earlier podcasts, the process of me putting that together. So as a customizer, or as a maybe if you're a customer wanting to purchase customs, realize that it's not as simple of a process as some people think. You're not going to get a custom action for $25. Now, if it's simply a kit bash where you're taking like for instance, this Triple H right here is a kit bash. This is an elite torso with an elite Triple H, or this is a Ultimate Edition torso. This is the earlier Ultimate Edition torsos without the butterfly shoulders. I'm not a fan of the upper torsos right now with the butterfly shoulders, simply because, and it would work for Triple H here. I like the motion and the movement and everything, but the traps on these figures are so huge. It works for Eddie because Eddie was a shredded guy, and he did have big traps. It would work for Triple H because Triple H did have big traps. So on those wrestlers that did have the large trap muscles, I'm okay with. But then you get some of these smaller guys like Rey Mysterio, or and they have it because this trap is necessary. This bulky trapezius muscle is necessary to fit in the butterfly, so it's got to be higher up here. You're having a bigger build. That's why I prefer this version of the Ultimate Edition that doesn't have the butterfly, simply because it doesn't have this ridiculous traps. But all I did was swap the torso out, which actually I have one right here. I can show you how we do this, conveniently enough. So all I did was swap the torso out, and then use the lower body from a Triple H that existed already, so I didn't have to do any details on the tights. I used Triple H boots from an Elite. I can, if I want to, change the shoes. That's the amazing thing. The newer version of the Ultimates that are coming out have different ankle pivots. It's closer to the Marvel Legends. But the ones that are currently out, it has the same ankle. It has the same foot peg. So I can swap the bottom boot from another Elite so I can have that toe bend, and it be a proper Triple H Ultimate Edition. Now this, once again, it's just part swaps, and I would probably charge about maybe $50 for this, just because of the two action figures that it would take to make. In showing what I mean about how easy it is to part swap, this is the lower torso off of WWE Elite DX Triple H. This is the head from Ultimate Edition Triple H, and this is a torso. I don't know which body it's from, but simple. This is all you're cracking off, and like I said, my buddy Dustin Young is the one that showed me. This is all you have to crack, is the lower part of the torso for the Ultimate Editions. You apply it to the torso of the or the lower legs of the Elite. Typically, you put the abdomen in first. The crunch is better. So you push this as forward as you can. You get the back part in, and you'd apply glue along the seams. And you put it together. And when you glue it, I hold it for a few seconds. to make sure you don't get a big seam, a big joint, and make sure you move it so it doesn't get stuck. But that's the process to put an Ultimate Edition, and it works with the ones with the butterfly shoulders too. I'm not a big fan of those, so this is what I have on hand. And then once again, I can take some mid-range boots, and if I have Triple H boots, then there's really no extra. You're just swapping the torso and swapping some parts, and it's not super. Like, this is something, like I said, I would sell for a reasonable price. These are for my own personal collection. Triple H is one of my favorites, but that's what I mean as far as that's simple. That would take me, 15 minutes to make that figure without applying anything. So I would, even though I would typically sell it for about $60, I would probably take 40, depending on what the parts cost. Obviously, being a retailer, I get the parts cheaper. If it's something that I had to open up original boxes, that's why I start around 60, simply for that. But I would be willing to take like $40 for that. So in your pricing, you don't want to price yourself out of a range where people want to purchase or don't want to purchase your customs, but you also don't want to rip yourself off, because you are putting a lot of time and effort into it. And these parts, they cost. Even if you have, a bin full of extra parts, maybe they're extra parts because you got action figures for a certain head or arms, and you still have the torso or legs. Now, granted, those things, they're extra fodder. They're not something you're actively paying for, so you don't want to figure them in at full value. But they're still a good, like, you can look up fodder pieces online. They're going, figure at least $5 for good parts, So don't number one, don't overprice yourself. Don't price yourself out of where people don't want to purchase your stuff, but also don't rip yourself off, because you're taking the full effort and time in creating something, and it's not easy. It's a process that's though it's fun and for some it's therapeutic, but you also want to think that, hey, I did put a lot of time and effort into, just like any other artist. Customization is an art, and it's something, and it's a skill. It's something you can learn. There's very different levels to it. There are some customizers out there that do absolutely amazing work, and there's a lot of sculpting and reshaping and shaping, and those guys, customs go for a few $100s, and I am impressed by a lot of people's work out there. So, like I said, also when you're selling your customs, base it, like take a look at eBay and whatnot, and Mercari and all those other sites, and see what other customizers are charging for their stuff before you start pricing yours. And there are different, like I said, different levels to the difficulty that you're doing, and you have to take that into consideration. I charge a little bit more if I'm for a part swapped WWE Ultimate or Elite than I would for an AEW figure, because AEW figures, they literally just pop apart. There's not a lot of torso cracking and stuff like that you have to do, because they literally are made to pull apart. With AEW figures, though, you have to do a lot more shaping and paint, because the paint applications, in my opinion, aren't the best on the figures' faces, and you want to add more. You might want to add more details to it so it looks a little bit cleaner, or a little bit more like who it's supposed to look like. But all in all, that's pretty much our show for this week. I'm cutting it a little bit short, strictly because I don't know if you can tell, my voice is kind of raw. I've been having some pretty bad coughing attacks and problems with my lungs over the past couple days, and it's it makes it a little harder to get on here and broadcast. Plus, I did fill in this week on the Shadow Network's Toy Box Chronicles. You can follow them on YouTube. It's called Shadow Nose Network on YouTube. I do fill in with the guys over there in Toy Box Chronicles every now and then. They have a bunch of amazing shows that go on. You can check out their schedule. It's called the Shadow Nose Network on YouTube. Very, very awesome dudes out there. I think they have, 4 or 5 shows weekly that go up. And they talk everything from comics, toys. They have affiliates that they work with. Another friend of ours, the Sarlacc Digest, which comes on, and Forgotten Fett. There's some great Star Wars podcasts that are associated. Little sister cross promotion with Shadow Nose Network. Like I said, appear on there from time to time, and I do a lot of talking about customs and toys and stuff like that when I can. I will. Once again, I'll be on there this Wednesday. We are live Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube on the Shadow Nose Network. So give it a listen. Check us out. Come on live. Make some comments. Make some lights. Let them know that you came because of me, and maybe they'll get me on there a little bit more. We do a lot of cross promoting. The guys over there that I Dr. Brentley, Alex Storm, and Chet Maddox. Those are the guys I normally deal with. They're awesome. They have a bunch of really cool podcasts. Like I said. Also, they touch on a bunch of different subjects from on their various shows. So, like I said, definitely check out their shows. Shadow No Network on YouTube. Also, of course, there is Forbidden Panel, who I work feverishly with. My partner AJ has ForbiddenPanel.com. You can check out the panel, his version of the Panelcast, of course. And also AJ's side panel, he does movie reviews. We do live streaming. I think they do them once a month when I can make it on. Once again, scheduling conflicts sometimes happen, but and AJ and I regularly do food reviews, movie reviews, wrestling reviews, and stuff. So definitely give them a follow. ForbiddenPanel.com. You can go over there and find, there's lots of cool articles. You can find all your upcoming movie trailers, news on comics, pretty much anything geek. AJ and the guys over at FP have their pulse, their finger on the pulse when it comes to that. So definitely check out Shadow Nose Network on YouTube, and I believe they're on Instagram. And also check out ForbiddenPanel.com, and then I'm sure you can go over to their website and I know they're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so make sure you give Forbidden Panel a follow and throw some likes out there. Of course, please like, subscribe, and comment to this. If there's anything you want to know or have any questions, or I'm more than happy to give out some free advice. You can reach to me, DM me with any questions that you may have, or if you have any suggestions. I'm more than open. Criticism, I don't mind being criticized. If you have constructive criticism, maybe I can learn from it. I'd like to thank everybody for their support, and like I said, I'm trying to keep the consistency up with these updates. I hope everybody's looking forward to the completion of this Owen and seeing how this custom goes for the custom order that I just so happened to get over the last couple of days. So we're going to work our way through that at the same time. So thank you all for the support. I appreciate you guys. And until next week, stay classy.